Rich Roll Podcast.
Postcards from Paris, episode 2. Back with Katie Hoff,
yes.
two-time Olympian, and a very special guest today. We've got Cody Simpson in the house, friend of the podcast.
Two-time Rich Roll podcaster.
That's right. Second appearance on the show.
That's worth putting on the bio.
That's on the resume now.
Yeah.
A little bit of a different setting. The first time you were gracious enough to allow me entrance into your home when I was on the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you taking the time to do this today, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah. Man, I was just staying up the road from here, so easy to swing by.
That's right. And we just figured out we're staying sort of near each other in a certain part of
5
Paris.
blocks away, yeah.
What has your experience been like? How long have you been in Paris?
I've been here for maybe 5 or 6 days. I was in the South France before this.
I noticed that.
Just having a
living
little
your best life down there.
As per Instagram, I'm there right now.
I noticed you shared something there, and I was like, did he leave Paris and come back?
No, I was just sharing after the fact.
Year?
I was like, I was so busy just doing nothing, but taking photos, and it's like, I'll just share them all later because I had so many good little clips and stuff, and it's just beautiful down there. So I said, I'll just look back at it all after the fact and pretend I'm there a couple weeks after I really was.
Well, you look good. You look happy.
Thanks.
It's fun to be in Paris. We were saying the other day, like up in the area in the neighborhoods like where you and I are staying.
Yeah.
It's unbelievably quiet. You wouldn't even know that the Olympics are happening. There's less people than there would be ordinarily this time of year in terms of like tourists.
I'm doing a lot of bike riding. Like that's how I'm getting around because it's so easy.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hot, so it's nice to just get the
super
breeze.
hot. So hot.
So I've just been bicycling around all day. And it's empty. Some like late afternoon, I was finding just streets that were just deserted. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a morning city.
No. Yeah, so it's kind of nice. And I've wanted to live over here for a long time, and I sort of am now scouting areas I may look at spending a bit of time in because I love this city for some reason.
It's inspiring. It's creatively inspiring.
It's creatively inspiring. It's got so much history, literary-wise, music-wise, art-wise. Like it's
which begs the obvious next question. We'll get into it more, but are we complete with our swimming career? Are you gonna continue? Are you getting back into music? What does it look like?
Is that too early of a question?
It's hard. Like I'm only maybe 6 weeks removed from our trials, so I'm like, for the time being, like I say yes, but it's like so much changed from 4 years ago to now, and so life is so unpredictable, right? Like I just don't know what will happen over the next 4 years and where life's going to take me in that sense. But I do have a lot of creative and musical sort of endeavors and ambitions I'm interested in pursuing between sort of now and then, and where and if swimming fits into that again. I'm just going to give it at least till sort of the end of the year to not force myself to think about it too hard. Yeah. I wanted to take a little break.
Yeah. Well, like I said, you earned it.
Yeah.
I would suspect that you being the creative person that you are, it must feel great to not be exhausted all the time or to have the daunting, and then suddenly all that creative energy now, can find its expression.
Yeah. I don't know if you noticed this, Katie, but when you stopped like realizing how much time you had in the day for like other things, because you weren't just like training for 3 hours in the morning and then sleeping, eating, and training in the afternoon.
Well, and you also feel like you're like, oh my gosh, I have energy again. You don't realize how tired you are when you're training because you're just like, well, like this is just how I'm supposed to feel and I'm going to grind through it. But when you stop, you're like, I want to go on a walk. I want to go on a random bike ride. Like I used to hate walking because it just meant that I was more tired for training. But I've walked all around Paris and it's so fun. Yeah. But it's not fun when you're training at all.
And in those long blocks, you almost get used to it.
You do, yeah.
Like
you just accept it.
You don't know any different because you've been under for so long.
Even though you went through that extended period when you weren't doing it and went back into it, you forgot what it felt like when you were just a normal civilian.
Yeah, I forgot. And there was probably only those couple weeks of the year where you do a taper or you have like a little break that you realize what it feels like to be a normal human being.
You're like, I'm me
like,
again.
Holy shit, yeah. And for me, that came in creativity and like ideas and stuff, because I was just so mentally zapped all the time where like I would never have any ideas.
Yeah, how much does that affect you? Because I was telling him, I am not a creative. So did you find this shift? Like, were you able to create or compose or do anything when you were doing, training 5 hours a day?
No.
At all?
Very, very rarely. I'd have glimpses of it.
Interesting.
But often, especially when it was, you were really kind of grinding, like I didn't have much time or much energy or time, I suppose, to, because I think creativity needs space. Like you almost need to be sitting alone for like 4 hours before anything can happen. Anything worthwhile can happen. Like, and we never had that time. Like you'd be napping or sleeping or, or training. So it was huge, like stopping and then just getting that burst it was like the floodgates opened again. Just like I can write songs, I can do whatever I want, and I'm not tired, and I can stay up till midnight and like I feel fine, It's hilarious, yeah. My schedule over here has been, I've been sleeping from like 1 till 9 instead of 8 till 5 or whatever. Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
you're like, wow, life
great.
Just opened up again.
Yeah.
I could see you living in Paris, cruising around on a bike, writing songs.
I love it. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
And how has it been to attend the meet? Obviously, you're here, supporting Emma.
Yeah.
But in the wake of, kind of falling a little bit short of the dream that you had set for yourself of making the team.
There's obviously always going to be that sense of, I wish I could have been here and doing this in the pool, but like I am proud and excited to be here in another capacity supporting her. Like, I didn't feel going to the pool and watching finals, like I wasn't upset or anything. I was like excited for her and for the other guys, like, because it is what it is, like you can't change it after the fact. Like you have to be there and enjoying yourself. And she, for her, it's like a huge moment. And, me being her partner is like, it's almost like I'm feeling those same nerves and excitement for her as she would be for herself. So, and I had I think if I hadn't really done everything I could to get the most out of myself, I'd probably feel different. But after the trials, like, even though there was a sense of disappointment, which there naturally is, there was also a sense of peace, because I was like, I don't know.
You did everything
I was
you
like,
could.
yeah. And for especially those final 6 months, it's like I was so dialed in every capacity that I just look back, and even upon really meticulous examination of like, because I think sometimes if you do fall short, you like look back and try and say, okay, what could I have done? And I couldn't find anything significant enough to like stress over.
Like a shoulda, coulda kind of thing.
It's like, okay, well, that's that, there's peace in that, and there's pride in that too, because you've like done everything you could. And so I was like, okay, well, I can leave this with peace, because like I did everything I could.
Yeah.
Oh, I find that so refreshing, because I don't think there's many athletes that, like, I know when I didn't make the team in 2012, I couldn't have imagined flying over to London and watching.
Yeah.
So like, has it helped having a new focus with Emma? Like, if you were to come over here without being focused on her, do you think you'd have the same thought and peace?
I think if I wasn't, probably not. Like, well, yes and no.
Yeah.
I think being able to watch her fulfill that her last games and have already been on the podium and everything is like, has helped for sure, because I feel like that sense of pride for her and excitement for her, and it definitely like eases that wishing and wanting I was feeling, in. Obviously, as a competitive athlete, like you look at the pool and you want to get in, and you wish you had the chance to get in, but you can't change it. So yeah.
For people that are listening or watching who don't know who Emma is, she just won her 12th Olympic medal.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
And how many golds?
Yeah, that's her sixth gold.
6 golds. So she's now eclipsed the record that she shared with Ian Thorpe, I think.
For golds.
Most golds
for Australians.
And most medals also she has, right?
She already had that, I think, but I think it's now she has she was tied with Ian for most golds at the Olympics, and I think now she has one more, something like that.
Right, it's crazy, right? So most decorated Australian Olympian of all time, right? So, and how does she weather that pressure, and how do you show up as a support system for her?
Yeah, well, she holds herself to the utmost standard, right? And so nothing's ever enough for her, or at least won't be till she stops and I think has some perspective and goes, I actually did all right.
That was pretty good. That was pretty
you know what
good.
I mean? Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm sure you felt that way, stopping, during it, when you're in it, it's like you want more, and then it's not until you're slightly removed from it and you can look in the rear view and go, actually did a fair bit there, you know?
Yeah. We were just talking about that with Elizabeth Beisel to be able to sit at the pool or sit at the opening ceremonies. That's the first time you realize, wow, I was pretty awesome at this.
Right. But the big problem that you two were having is that the times are really slow this year.
Right.
So they're you're thinking about.
I would have been. I would have held up in there.
Yeah. Don't tell me you're not looking at that thinking.
Yeah. You're not going to not,
Of course.
I would have, semis, I would have done this. But, I don't know. I think the pool's shallow or something.
Yeah, this is the thing, right? So
there's been some fast times, though, but...
A couple, but by and large, the mean or the average.
Yeah, for everyone being at their peak, it should have been a little bit
they're slow.
Faster.
Something like the slowest Olympics since when? Somebody was saying the 90s. Was that you?
Oh, don't put that on me.
No, it wasn't you.
No, it was
you. You said that.
No, it was
in terms of records and
Yeah, I was just looking at, I think at one of the events, it was just what it took to make it back top 8.
Yeah.
Those are the same times that in the 90s for certain events, which is wild. But then you look at, you've swum in shallow pools, it is more choppy, it is more wavy. So there is validity to it. I just didn't realize how much different.
Yeah. The press finally picked up on this a day and a half ago.
It seems like it might be a couple tenths a lap.
Okay.
So
that's what I'm gauging.
The pool is about 2 meters deep.
Yeah.
And it's meant to, generally it's 3 meters deep. Basically.
So I think the exact numbers it's supposed to be 2.8 meters and it's 2.2 meters.
I see.
Which
so it's 0.6 of a meter. So it's not quite the differential that I thought, but it is shallow and the swimmers are complaining, coming off, especially coming off the walls.
Guys that do a lot of underwaters and that being a big part of their race.
They can't get deep enough.
They can't get under the wake as well, or can't pitch deep enough and come out.
And those cameras on those tracks on the bottom,
I didn't really notice it until the backstroke, they did the underwater shot where the backstrokers jump in, and a lot of them were jumping in and immediately touching the bottom. Oftentimes you won't get to the bottom when you jump in because it's deeper. So I was I didn't realize how shallow it was until I saw those clips. But I don't know how much slower it is, but it's definitely been, because often by now at an Olympics with everyone in this kind of form, you usually see
world record,
a couple world records, at least one. We haven't seen one. So
not a single one yet.
Yeah.
The pool is interesting. I went to finals for the first time the other night, and I had never been to an Olympic competition before, so I don't know how it compares to the other venues, but it is a bit strange. It's a rugby stadium, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a rugby stadium that they built a pool in.
Yeah.
And there's so many different entrances and they're all kind of siloed off. So once you go in, you go up these stairs and you're kind of stuck in your section. So there isn't a lobby kind of area where everyone's gathering and you see people and stuff
it's
like that.
It's not like a traditional arena.
You don't have that. And then even if you have really good seats, they're set back so far from the pool that even the best seats, the pool is still really far away.
Yeah, I was sort of fortunate enough the other night to be front row, behind the starting blocks, but there's a good 25 meters between that row and the starting blocks, and you couldn't even really see, the actual race happening. It was cool because you felt part of it, but you couldn't really, from a spectator's point of view,
But that's even rare. Like, I don't think I've ever been to a meet, I don't think ever, where you're on the floor. Have you?
No.
Like, to be able to be like kind of at like a tennis match or something, like that's super rare, which I thought was like the fact that I think I saw a video, you got to hug
Yeah, you were like on the
Emma right
on the
after.
tarmac
Like, that's
right?
incredible.
Literally on the floor,
Yeah.
yeah. Which was pretty cool, because but I'd never seen that before either.
Yeah.
I think the venue's cool. I like the venue
like it?
personally.
People
The
are
swimmers
saying,
like it. What is the team saying? Sorry.
Oh, no. I was just saying that people are saying like that they feel like it's more like a world championships because it's so small and intimate.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I love that it's small and intimate because I think it makes it louder. I think it makes it less intimidating. But we're also all coming off of U.S. trials, which was at the Lucas Oil Stadium.
Right.
So I think we got spoiled at Olympic trials.
Yeah. I don't know or remember, like I went and watched it in Rio, but that's the only other Olympic swimming event I've been to, so I don't know how it measures up to. You might know better.
What does
than me
Emma say?
how
What are some of the
crowd
people on the
sizes were
team?
back in like Beijing and stuff? I don't remember. Like I don't know what those were like.
I don't know numbers. I mean, Beijing, I think it was like 15,000, but it was definitely like a much more open.
All around. Yeah.
I mean, Athens, they didn't finish the roof.
Yeah.
In 2004, and it was outside.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is definitely better than Athens.
Well, this is about 16,000, I think.
Yeah.
And
Is
but
it?
it's like just one side, and then the one side is just
Right.
like commentary and media and all that. But I don't know. I've only heard good things about the actual like venue from the athletes, because there's a 50-meter warm-up pool on the other side behind the where the media is. And you walk out there and it's like a whole nother facility,
Yeah.
which is good. And yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard. They're saying the pool's slow, but like overall, it seems like everyone's saying it's like pretty well run.
Oh,
so
that's good to
far.
hear. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like everyone's in the same boat, right? So it's like you can't. It's not like
Even
someone
playing
gets
field, yeah.
to swim in a fast pool and someone gets to swim in a slow pool. It's like everyone's in the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doing the same thing. So
Except, did you see last night that there was, for the 4x200 freestyle relay, they had lane 9?
is that a first? That's like an Olympic first.
I don't know. So it was because it was, I'm going to mess this up, but it was Israel and
Japan, I think. Yeah.
tied. And I don't know how they
In the
decided,
heats.
but yeah, so they ran 9 teams for the relay.
I think it's like the first time they've
That's
ever.
never. I don't think that's ever
It's the
happened
first time
before.
they've ever opened up a 9th lane for an Olympic final.
They were way at the. I was
Yeah.
watching it and I didn't realize, and then I was like, oh my god, they're against the wall, which couldn't have helped.
Because they tied for 8th,
Yeah.
and so
You can't do a relay swim
if you
off.
tie, I don't know. I don't think it had
think
ever
so.
happened. So they didn't run
They were
one.
like, we don't know what to do.
Yeah. So they just opened. I think the solution was opening up a 9th lane for the.
Yeah.
Because I think if other teams tie for 4th or 5th or whatever, it just that just pushes out number 8, right? It's just But to tie for 8th in an individual event, you do a swim off. But I don't think they were able to get 8 guys back to do like another 200
I went to
free.
bed before that happened last night. How does that happen?
Yeah. They're not
Yeah.
going to make all 8 guys do another 4x2,
No,
like,
it wouldn't be right
and then the finals. Like I think they were just
in one day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There probably wasn't any protocol for it.
Other than the shallow water conceivably making the pool slow, one of the things that like hit me just watching it, even though it's like it's kind of far away, I'm getting the vibe like it's exciting,
Yeah.
like it's so cool to be here.
Yeah.
But also I thought, this is a swim meet. Like this is kind of like every other swim meet I've
swim
ever
meet.
been to.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like,
It is.
you know what yeah, there
Yeah.
was something comforting about that also.
Yeah, like it felt
they're
like-
just warming up like you would at any other meet, and they're
It kind of felt like our trials did.
Yeah.
Like it's nicer than ours was. It's not nicer than theirs was. But just like it feels like a swim meet when you're there. Yeah.
I mean, I had that moment when I got there night 2, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, why was I so nervous about this? But it's because I'm in the stands and not swimming.
Yeah.
And so I think it again puts it in perspective. Like when you're in it, like it's the only thing that you think it's the only thing that matters. You're like, this is everything, and it is everything.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting to now step back and be in the stands and be like, oh, it's just another swim meet.
It's a swim
Dang
meet,
it. Like
yeah.
I wish I had some of this back then, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Some people do that better than others.
Yeah,
but-
some people can have that perspective, and some can't. I don't know. But yeah, it is funny when you look at it from that perspective. You're like, oh, it's really just a bunch of people from all over the world getting together and like racing each other in a pool, right? to see who can do it the in the least amount of time. Yeah.
We talked about the Australia-USA rivalry a little bit last time, and the whole like cowbell thing and that, all of that.
Yeah.
But what's the Australian perspective on how do they think about this rivalry?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I think some people have been more vocal than others about it, and maybe sort of given it a different sort of feel and view than a lot of the team actually, the Australian team actually feels about it. Like, from my perspective, like, and from at least people that I've trained with and teammates, friends that I have on the team, like, we love the US team.
Yeah.
That's
there's the rivalry, but it's like
everyone's like,
it's
we're
like
all friends.
Yeah. It's it's healthy rivalry. We're probably the two greatest swimming nations on the planet, and naturally, I think we want to lift each other. We don't want to, we just naturally do lift each other to higher standards because us, the US and Australia as nations, are constantly pushing the bar in the pool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't really buy into all the other stuff.
I feel the exact same way.
Yeah.
I feel like just the media kind of ran with it, and then there were certain people that were more vocal than others.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I saw Phelps' video today where he's doing like, I've got one thing to say, and he's doing the cow. Yeah, he's milking it.
Yeah.
And the videos of him seeing the video about it, it's like
viral.
It's on. Like all of this is like, it's just building
it made me
audience
think
enthusiasm for it, the whole event.
You could see the wheels turning in his head of like, do I come back right now?
Yeah, there was definitely.
I could see that. He was like, I wish I was in there.
Oh, you don't think he's looking at the times also?
Oh,
yeah.
100%. 100%. Yeah,
I could see the internal dialogue of like, have I got time to like qualify for this team? And,
like maybe at least
clean up again.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think you're like 8-9 years younger than me, which I hate admitting, but I mean, don't you think so? In 2000, with the whole intense rivalry with the we're gonna strum them like guitars and that,
guitars,
I feel like it's similar. It's just social media wasn't around as much in 2000,
it was just newspapers doing it.
It was just newspapers. So like people are making this crazy deal out of it. This has been happening for decades. Decades, and it's just fun.
I think if it's lighthearted, like.
Totally.
It's fun. Like I think the Smash My Guitars thing was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, that goes
when the guys did this,
that goes back to Clemmy, right?
Yeah. Clemmy broke the world record off that thing, and he gets out and he's like, crazy.
So, Katie, have you ever been to Australia? Did you compete there?
I did.
You did?
The last time I competed there was the World Championships in 2007, where they put the pool in the Rod Laver Arena.
Yeah.
And it was, I mean, that's one of my favorite experiences, pools. I mean, Australia in general is my favorite place.
Australia has no shortage of epic pools.
No.
And one
I've watched replays of that meet, and they look pretty cool. Yeah.
But one of the great pools is the Gold Coast Aquatic Center where you train.
Yeah.
Your home pool. Like this facility is unreal.
Really?
It's right on the water. It's just, the weather is perfect. There's two 50-meter pools, like this incredible strength training facility there.
Yeah, there's like two 50-meter pools.
Is really nice.
2 gyms, like a diving pool to dive well, like a shallow 25-meter. I learned to swim. It's a big facility.
It's
we
your
were lucky
hometown.
enough to
That's
train
where you
there.
learn. You and Emma trained there.
Yeah.
But a lot of the Olympic team was part of that training group. Yes. Who else on the team was part of your group?
Michael Bowl is the coach.
He's the coach. Who's now stepping down.
He was Stephanie Rice's coach.
Yes.
That was sort of his first big athlete. Was Steph back in the day, and then has since sort of had success at pretty much every game since, particularly with Emma in Tokyo. Now has Katie McKeon, who just won the 100 back last night.
Right. And rocked like the most epic pair of spectacles of all time. Did you see her?
Love that.
Can we talk about her Prada frames?
Prada
for a
frames
minute?
are sick, yeah. She got those a couple months ago.
Those are unreal.
Yeah, she had these kind of other ones, and then one day she rocks up in the Pradas to training because we train in the same group, and they're pretty sick. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm glad she wore them on the podium.
I know, that was a very cool move.
Yeah.
Especially to do it in Paris.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was thought out.
Yeah.
It was planned.
So
she looks great in them anyway.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We had a great group there. Like, it was myself, Emma, Kaylee, Lonnie Pallister, distance. So Wally has everyone from 50 meters to 1500, and has had medals in pretty much most distances, which he's a great coach. Splits up his program really well. He's probably a sort of maybe a Bob Bowman style equivalent
I feel like
in Australia. And who else? We had Brendan Smith, who's on the IM for the 400 IM for Australia. Had Mac Horton, who retired last year. A few other guys, but
that's
it was a good group.
Lot.
Yeah.
That's more than you say Bob Bowman. Bob Bowman doesn't have that many. That's what quality, I guess, do you feel like makes him that much of a legend?
His personality, his ability to people manage,
yes,
to manage personalities, which I think is half of what coaching is, and to manage personalities and almost be. There's a psychological element, right? Like, you almost have to be a psychologist as well as a coach. He has a very calm demeanor, exterior at least. I don't know I'm sure there's more going on inside when we're at meets, but he's very good at instilling a sense of calm confidence in his athletes, which I appreciated for the years that I was with him. And I think coaches, there's different coaches for different athletes, but I think the ones that sort of merge well with his personality do really well under him. Ones that he's really tough, but in a calm sort of way. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's also hilarious, so that helps. Yeah.
And now he's stepping down.
Yeah. He says,
slowing down.
We've all got money on how long that'll last, but he says he's retiring.
It's like a John Urbanchek who retired 4 times.
Yeah. He'll be back on deck in 6 months.
He's not going to be able to hang it up for very long. But I read that Mel Marshall, the Loughborough coach from the UK, who's Adam Peaty's coach, is taking over.
She's taking over the group.
She's taking over that role.
Yeah.
She seems like an amazing coach.
Yeah, and I think she's wanted to. They've come down for camps a couple times. She's brought the Brits down to train with us a couple times, and I think she's expressed interest in living and working in that area for a long time because it's so nice. I'm sure it's a welcome weather change from the UK.
It's a big difference.
So she's going to be taking over that program back there. So I'm sure it'll be great for the group, and it couldn't be a better coach to sort of take on what Bolly built there.
Does Bowl sort of stepping down impact your thoughts around continuing, or
I don't know.
Are those thoughts independent of that?
Yeah, I think independent of that. As much as I love him and feel like if I were to continue, that he'd be who I'd like to stay under. I think that having come back in a pretty sort of lone wolf fashion, I have this idea that I could do it anywhere with anyone if I wanted to, because I did so much of my early training almost alone in 25-yard pools with no lane ropes during COVID and all that stuff. So I don't know, I'd sort of have to look at what else was around. Yeah.
I'm really interested in I've never had a pull of these two things. I was in swimming and I was locked into swimming. That's all I was going to do. Are you right now, and maybe you're 6 weeks removed, so maybe it's too early to ask this question, but you have this incredible talent in music and you have this incredible talent in swimming. So right now, where is your brain being pulled and in what direction?
It's hard to decipher right now. I think I'm too close to it still. I really had to make a conscious effort in those couple of years to really lock in and not be pulled towards, some of the other stuff. But I think if I was to come back to swimming, I'd be able to have a nice balance of still maintaining that part of my life. But there are things I want to do outside of the sport for at least a little bit. My plan is not to slip too far off the wagon, you know, like I'm still lifting and I'm still
fit. Like, how can I hold on to this without like, you know,
I don't want to
impinging on my creative lifestyle?
Yeah. So like, you know, I think I've built such good habits over the last like 4 years that I don't plan on just becoming a slob. So I think if I can stay, you know, if I can stay fit and stay strong, I think that, you know, that at least over the next sort of 6-12 months, I think that makes it a little easier if you do decide you want to, you know, slot back in, that, you know, you haven't put on 20 kilos and, you know, lost any and all aerobic fitness.
Nobody wants to see that on you.
No, I know.
You know? Wait, was that? But I never saw
pictures.
Like, was that how much you had to lose?
No.
Okay.
He was like a skinny guy.
I was skinny.
I was gonna say,
he became
you
like
just
this.
built a ton of muscle.
I would like growing up competing in swimming, like I always sort of had a swimming frame, I guess.
Yeah.
But I was, it needed to be built upon. I think 4 years ago I was pretty skinny. So yeah, but no, I never had any weight on. Yeah.
What I'm excited for you to explore is returning to the songwriting and the performing, but doing it on your own terms. Like, you basically just broke all these rules. Like, all these people said, what you're trying to do is impossible. It's a fool's errand. And you committed to it, and you took it like way beyond any place that anybody thought realistically that you would go with it.
Yeah.
And that has to expand your sense of possibility, right? And you know, you are a musician, you're a songwriter, you're a performer, you're all of these things. Those things haven't gone away. They've just been kind of latent for a while. Mm-hmm. And now you get to return to that, but you get to do it with this renewed sense of capacity, right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to go back to LA and plug yourself into some crazy machine. Like, you get to do it the way that you want to do it.
Yeah, it added a nice layer to, I suppose, the story of my life so far. But two, it definitely did instill in me a sense of kind of do it however you want.
Yeah.
You know, you know, I think it also swimming teaches you a sense of self-discipline and self-reliance that few other things can teach you. I think competitive sport at that level, in any sport, teaches you that, but I learned it through swimming, you know, that can be applied to whatever else, you know. So I'm really excited to, I suppose, like, have that asset to, and set of, you know, tools to be able to apply to whatever it is, you know, I want to do next, you know. But I'm particularly excited to apply that to music and entertainment and sort of, the thing though about like the entertainment industry and all that and the music industry is that it's not so black and white as a work turns into progress or success. Rule or theory as, say, sport is, you know, sport's very much what you put in is what you get out kind of situation, where, you know, the music industry, there's that whole shaking hands and kissing babies side, which I don't enjoy. It was made to do too much of it as a teenager that I just like have no interest in, you know. So I definitely would do it on my own terms again.
Yeah, I think we talked about this last time. Like, there's this tension between effort and output, whereas in swimming it's pretty binary. Like, the more you put in, the more you get out of it, and you learn to
an
be
extent,
this,
I suppose. You can definitely burn yourself out.
There's caveats
for the most
to that.
part, yeah.
But it is very much
it's hard to go over the edge.
Really, the harder you work, like, you're putting yourself in the better position to like succeed or achieve your goals. Whereas anything that is creative, there's also, you have to hold it loosely. Like, you can't force a song. There's the business aspect of entertainment, but the actual creative aspect of it is more of an allowing. Like, you can't take that swimming attitude and like you could go into the studio and say, I'm not leaving the studio until I have 6 songs, but you also have to like step back, and it's a different mindset.
Like grunt through like a set,
you know?
like the way you would in sport. Yeah, you gotta. It's a push and pull.
It's a different skill set.
Yeah.
That you have to kind of resurface in yourself.
Which I have to sort of reteach myself, you know?
Well, I was going to ask that, like, did that, because I feel like some level of having the looseness in swimming is actually really healthy.
Is good, yeah.
And so did that help, or did you continue that when you came back to swimming?
That's a great question.
Were you able to have a little looseness? Because the fact that you're here and you're like, I'm at peace, I'm in awe of that. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think I'm wondering, you tell me, if that played a part.
Yeah, I suppose so. Like approaching it in that way. I did have to keep reminding myself of it through that process, because I did find times where I was holding on too tight, you know, and that would negatively affect my performance. So I go, no, I need to keep that like musical approach to this a little bit. And when I did swim my best, it was. You know, I'm sure it was the same for you or for any swimmer. Like when you feel you're swimming your best, it feels free and it feels loose and it feels
flowy.
Yeah, it feels musical in a way. Like it feels like a dance. Yeah.
You also have the added benefit of you have this other love. So like retiring from swimming doesn't create like an identity crisis for you.
That's what I'm grateful for, and I think maybe that plays a part in the peace side of things too, because I wasn't afraid of what I was gonna want to do after, or having to find something else. You know, I'm very grateful to have built this, or just to naturally have this other great passion that, you know, can certainly sort of ease the post sort of swimming blues that, you know, I still kind of am getting, because you're so used to a very particular regimen. But it's nice to sort of have something else to.
You find yourself waking up at 5 or whatever it is.
Yeah,
anyway.
It's so
Eating
funny.
A giant breakfast, and you're like, actually, don't.
Even some of my mates that I'm here with.
I actually don't need to consume this many calories right now.
Yeah. Oh, I don't need 3 breakfasts. Right. I can just have an espresso and like a little croissant. That's enough.
And I tell you, I am loving, that is the one thing you're done with swimming or your sport, and I would just do that. I'd be like, I don't need to consume an insane amount of protein. You know what? I'm just going to have a latte and a croissant, and that is good enough.
Yeah, and that's good. And also when you're like lifting, or I was talking about this, one of my other buddies who I'm here with, he unfortunately missed qualifying for the Oz team as well. He actually won the 200 fly trials, but wasn't. Australia has these.
Oh, it didn't make a
time standards that they're.
What did he swim?
Ruthless about
in the 2 fly.
155 maybe to fly, or
and he won
56,
trials,
maybe 56, but won trials, but wasn't under the qual time. So.
Oh.
But he's over here, and we're going around to see some of the swimming, and he's like me. I guess he's sort of accepted that fact, and swimming's so cutthroat, man. Like, it's crazy, brutal. You know. But we were at the gym like yesterday lifting. We're like, oh, we don't have to like destroy ourselves, you know. we can just exercise to feel good, to get some endorphins, you know.
Yeah.
Like we don't have to just
like
punish
murder
ourselves.
Yourself.
Yeah. We can actually stop here after, just 4 sets and like go get breakfast and feel good for the day.
Like enjoy the session.
Not go and like sleep for 2 hours now. Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to ask you. I love the little clip that you did with the Inspired Unemployed guys. I love those guys. Those guys do you know these guys? The Inspired Unemployed.
Which one did you see? Because
the one where you were getting out of the pool, taking the cap off.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, cool. So we did a longer. I think it came out today. It's like I teach them how to swim butterfly kind of. They race each other, and then I race the winner with like a handicap. It was pretty funny. I'll send you the clip.
You don't know who these guys are, Katie?
No, I need to look them up.
Australian comedians.
These guys, they're 2 of the funniest dudes you're ever gonna. I mean, how do you explain it?
They're like, so the humor's very Aussie, like, but they just make these really comedic videos on YouTube and
Instagram
reels and stuff.
And they have a show in Australia.
Yeah.
Like a YouTube show, or like a TV show?
Like two dudes.
Yeah, and they got a podcast.
Who would make these hilarious little videos on Instagram or TikToks or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're just like two Aussie blokes, but they're really funny together. And they just blew up. They're so good that they just developed this huge following. Yeah, they have a very funny podcast.
I love that.
And now they get to go to all these amazing events and make funny videos with like famous people. So they go to F1 and they did stuff with Daniel Ricciardo and whatever.
Yeah.
Now they're at the Olympics doing stuff with Cody and others, I'm sure.
Yeah, they're doing like their correspondence for the Australian team or like something.
It's kind of like the Buttery Bros in the CrossFit world in the US, like where it's like
they're just they kind of like are like
they're normal guys.
They're like blue collar guys.
Relatable though.
They're like blue collar guys.
So cool.
But it's a very Australian.
It is like Aussie humor.
Which like I always hear people say that like, oh, it's like Aussie humor. Like what is Aussie humor? Like why is it different? Like I don't because I feel like I'm good friends with Steph Rice and I always laughed at her jokes. So like I don't know what the difference is.
It's like, a lot of taking the piss.
Yeah.
You know?
A lot of sarcasm.
Trying to take people down a notch.
Maybe a bit crude, yeah. We have this thing called like, which is one of the things I don't love about Australia, which is like, we call it tall poppy syndrome, which you guys don't have as much in the US, where
we talk about this
if someone kind of like gets a bit too successful or, you know.
Kind of cocky.
Oh, yeah. Not even cocky, not even cocky, just like successful.
Oh,
like,
no.
In any, like in business, people just start to try and cut you down, and I think I don't know why that is in the culture, and that's why a lot of Australians that are moving overseas abroad to like further their careers, like they might go to the States or whatever, because you guys have this really beautiful culture of like, you know, lifting each other up and not sort of downplaying success, which I like about the States, and we probably need a bit more of that in Australia, but that's also I think what keeps a lot of Aussies like humble, but sometimes I feel like it's out of fear of being like, you know, snipped. But yeah, it's a little bit we're probably a little more like judgmental of each other than Americans are of each other, you know. But then like, you know, sometimes we have the perspective of like, you guys do it to the point where like you guys like to flex, you know.
Like the cocky Americans.
You
go, so it goes,
extreme.
Well, where we're constant. Like sometimes I feel like, we can go like overboard of like, oh my gosh, that was amazing. That that is definitely in our nature.
Yeah, it was like it's almost like in Australia, if you drive like too flashy a car, like everyone's like, what the hell are you doing? Like, get rid of that thing, you know. Whereas in the States, a lot of places would be like, man, like congrats, like you bought a whatever, you know.
To an extent. I don't know.
Maybe that's just LA, like growing up there.
I mean, you can get, it can be douchey.
100%.
Yeah.
I feel like especially in LA, like I used to live in LA and it's like, like you look at that person.
It goes overboard,
Calm down. What are you trying to overcome?
Yeah.
You know? But
I suppose what I'm trying to say is we sort of have that, we call it tall poppy syndrome, where you can, which are, you know, to an extent it's all right because it I think it keeps everyone kind of grounded, but at the same time, I think you need a better, you know, encouragement, a bit of go do whatever you want.
Do you think you would ever move back to the States?
Not full time. I could see myself going back and forth, but I think just being back close to family, you know, having my girlfriend and just having built this like really nice community of friends back home, I think I enjoy and feel a lot happier in Australia than I did when I was overseas, because it was weird. Like in my 10 years in LA, like I probably made 3 friends that I've like, you know, been able to maintain. I don't know if that's just the transitory nature of like the city, because everyone's just coming and going and from somewhere else and whatever. But like I've been able to really cultivate some really lifelong, or what I hope to be lifelong friendships back in Australia. And like I don't want to live too far from that. Yeah.
Am I going to move to Paris with you?
I'm planting the seeds, man. I'm watering it every day.
This is the moment.
Every day she gets a nice little aesthetic video of like a beautiful street with like a guy playing accordion, and I'm like, you know, and I'm going, I really like it here.
You're like, this could be every day.
Yeah. Like, let's try 3 months.
Would you swim in the Seine if given the opportunity.
Have they given it the green light yet, or what's the
So
deal?
here's the latest. Obviously, we recapped this the other day.
Because they moved the triathlon yesterday, didn't they?
So yesterday was supposed to be the triathlon.
Yeah.
The men were going off first. They all got up at 4 a.m., went down to the start, called it off. The water wasn't testing properly, so they said, come back tomorrow. So
how are they going to do enough in 24 hours to like?
But check this out.
Exactly.
I woke up, what day is it today? It's Wednesday.
31st.
So I woke up at like 4:30 this morning, and it was raining. It was raining, and I'm like, well, there's no way they're doing the triathlon today.
Yeah.
Sure enough, women went off on time, and men were just finishing the race when you arrived here.
Isn't that
So
concerning?
they both went, and the whole
But
thing was.
if they called it too dirty yesterday, how have they done enough to change that?
Exactly.
Your guess is as good as mine. I don't know the answer.
And are
to
they
that.
still going to do the open water?
That's my question.
My understanding, I was talking to somebody at the pool the other day who has insight, a former Olympian who's talking to a bunch of the swimmers. And as far as I understand it, it's similar. Like the day that the event is supposed to happen, they'll show up for it and they'll let them know.
That's crazy.
And so here's the thing. Where do
they warm up to for the 5 and 10K?
I have no idea. Maybe in the Seine itself, right? So if the water isn't testing properly, they'll send them home and they'll come back the following day, same thing, and they'll do that, I think 3 times.
That's like the rule.
And then if it's still not clean enough, they have a backup, like a B plan, which I think is hosting the open water competition where they're doing the kayaking. Is that right? Some other water related event.
Okay.
That's happening here. So they have
maybe the rowing. Is the rowing in the Seine too?
Rowing? I don't know.
I don't know where the rowing is.
They have
some
a
secondary
plan B.
where they're doing some kind of competition with
I'm
water.
mind blown how they were able to get it.
But can you imagine the mindset of like going to do your thing
To
and
prelims
then
and then being
thinking
like, actually,
your heat is this morning. No, it's not.
Yeah,
Okay, it's
right.
tomorrow now. No,
And
it's
then
not. It's the next day.
Like, how does that impact your mental game?
Yeah, it's huge because you're so used to knowing something's happening on a certain day at a certain time.
I mean, your whole plan leading up to it, like, I don't know about you, but I had like a 3-day out, like, here's the pace I'm doing, here's what I'm doing, like each time. So you would keep doing it and then you would.
Well, you're timing your prep into this specific day, right? Like you have things you're doing each day leading in
And just mentally, like, okay, like you lock in 24 hours out.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
At least I did. So it's like to lock in, okay, no, okay, now I'm going to lock in again. And I'm
shut
like,
everything down.
The emotional energy would be unreal.
Yeah. So if you're Katy Grimes right now, I mean, that's like, what do you say to her to help her get sorted?
I actually have talked to her a lot this meet before 400 IM, and then she swam the 1500 prelim and unfortunately didn't advance. And I think for her, she's such a programmed person, and I think that's why we get along so well, because I'm like that person too. And I was like, you need to just keep recreating the plan. Like, okay, like here's what I'm doing. Like even from the 400 IM final, she had the prelim the next morning. She got back at 2 a.m. and then she has to get up. And my advice was like, compartmentalize the emotion, make a plan minute to minute. Like for some people, that is like the worst thing you can do. But for her, she was like, okay, cool.
She needs that, yeah.
My advice is like, okay, like just make the plan, assuming it's going to be happening.
Yeah.
But then the second you find out, make a new plan. Like don't start flailing. And I think it would be very easy to be like, oh wait, I had my plan, and not sit down again, take the time, be in the moment, and create a new plan. But for someone who is that type of person, it's the only way to get through it, I think.
And I think you'd hope that, well, at least for us, like, I don't know, our coach would sort of try and emulate, heats and finals stuff in training. Like we do a suited morning and evening, and you treat it like it was a heat and a final or whatever, heat and a semi, and to go through, not to a T, but similar processes as you would on like a race day, with a similar sort of downtime in between, and similar sort of pre-activation and all that stuff. And so ideally, like, you get used to it, and you can, if you're good, you can run it back and keep doing it.
The added ripple here being all the bus rides. The village
Emma
is
said
like
yesterday,
an hour away,
and
the buses aren't running well.
No, she was going from the comp pool to the village, which is the villages north of the comp pool, and this bus driver's taking them all the way to the south of Paris.
Because
just
of
taking the
road
wrong
closures?
direction.
Oh, because they got lost?
Just like the bus driver didn't know where to go or something. So
Was there
she's
a
like, I'm in the
mutiny?
south of Paris now. We're going all the way back up. So she was on this bus for 2 hours or something after just having done just like an evening swim last night. Gets back at like 9 p.m. to the village.
That's so frustrating.
And then there's the food shortage situation.
Didn't hear about that.
You haven't heard about this? So apparently, maybe it's been rectified now, but I heard this at the pool the other night also, that it's a big problem. And when those buses are running late after finals and those athletes, whether it's swimming or some other sport, they're getting back to the village at like midnight, 1 a.m. and all there is like bread rolls to eat. There's no food.
Yes.
Wow.
Which is like the whole thing with France and Paris was like, we know how to do great food.
Yeah.
And
late too. Like people eat
exactly.
at whatever hour.
That's been a real issue as far as I understand.
God.
I've heard that too. Yeah. I mean, I hope it. I feel like
when
just
every
like
cafe in the city is still open at midnight serving
And
food,
just
the one
ship
thing
that
they should
stuff
have
in.
is like
when you walk outside the
food.
pool venue, there's all these hotels right there. Right there.
I know.
Still serving whatever. Yeah, the first thing they should have is stuff available for the athletes.
Well, and then there's like the road closures, which has been a huge thing of like, you can't actually, I'm assuming the buses deal with it too, but you can't actually go through certain parts. So Shawn Johnson, was legendary gymnast, said she had to get out in the middle of the interstate and run a mile because she was going to be late for finals, and she was a correspondent. And she said she showed up. She was like, I look like I jumped in the pool, but
wow,
that's insane.
Just like
Did
so
we talk
stressful.
about the other day, the skateboarders who skated? The bus broke down, and then they just all got out and were like, no sweat, and they just all skated to the venue
on their way to actually compete.
On the way, yes.
Oh,
So convenient.
that's kind of badass, but like,
I know.
still, fuck. It's an Olympics though, right? Like the logistics. I mean, you'd hope they have it down, but stuff's gonna go wrong.
Yeah. I feel like at every Olympics, there's something. Like in Beijing, the sky was orange for the majority of the competition, because of the pollution. So I feel like there's always
And you got to be
something.
adaptable.
Yeah, there's always something. It's just, you just have to kind of pivot.
Right. The mindset
cardboard
training.
beds.
The
Cardboard
cardboard
beds.
beds. I heard they're not that bad though.
Yeah, me too.
I heard that
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
But the mindset training being like resilience, like be prepared for all of these unforeseen variables that are going to happen because they will, and they're going to throw you off your game. And if you're
Our coach was big on that.
rigid about like this is my thing,
Yeah.
you're going to get thrown off your game and you're going to crumble.
Yeah.
I think adaptability is so important, especially when if you're an athlete competing globally.
But can you imagine
Stuff's
coming to
gonna
the
go wrong.
Olympics with like a schedule like Michael Phelps, where it's literally just like multiple races at every session, like without just a relentless.
And if there's an hour
and if
shift,
you're-
like left or
and
right.
if you're back and you're getting 1 hour less of sleep.
No.
Yeah.
I couldn't. I mean, my first 4 days, I swam 4 400s and 6 200s in Beijing. Like, I couldn't imagine being like, oh, but like you're going to get back at 2 a.m. Oh, and
Yeah.
you're not going to have food. Oh, like
Was it better there? It was like all
it was a
pretty
little,
predictable.
yeah. Food was not an issue there. And then I would say we got back, there's some commute. There's always some commute, but it wasn't 2 hours for sure. But
And they weren't taking wrong directions.
They
and
weren't
stuff.
going to the south of France.
Damn.
No.
Yeah.
What are some of the other things that you've noticed just being here in Paris that people at home who are watching it on TV might not understand or appreciate or realize about the experience of attending?
It's pretty beautiful in the city. Like, it's a beautiful city to host the games. Like, walking past the Eiffel Tower and seeing the rings just illuminated in the evening is just awesome, and that kind of stuff. And it's nice to be, like, it's not that busy as we were saying before.
Yeah.
Like, it's shockingly unbusy.
Yeah.
I found.
You can you can still catch Ubers around. You can, ride the
Subway
city
gets you
bikes.
everywhere.
The metro is not shoulder to shoulder, at least from my experience having taken it. So it's been it's quite enjoyable for the spectator at least.
It feels
so
like nice.
Like, it's so nice for the
business
athletes.
as usual. Like I've been here for a while, so I sort of feel like I live here now.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just like, this is life here.
Yeah.
I had
you
a
would
couple
think
buddies.
the city would be overrun. It would be really difficult to get around. And there are like those zones and there are challenges.
It's fairly clean
But
overall.
that's all right around the venues around the river.
Yeah, in the city it feels like business as usual. Part of the some of the areas that are kind of blocked off. I think opening ceremony, like you couldn't cross the river, but like the next day they opened it all back up again, and it's kind of nice for the spectator, as I said.
For the spectator.
Like,
I also feel like they're just so warm and accepting. Like I have definitely put in, because you know how sometimes you put in the Uber, like the actual place, and then it'll give you 4 different options. Then I instantly have a freak out because I'm like, what's the option? And they'll come find me. Like they're just like, that is not happening in the States. Like they're mad. You're getting a 1-star review.
If you're not on the corner that you say you are at the time they arrive, like they're canceling on you.
But they're like, it's okay. I just feel like they're like very welcoming to, they understand, we're not from here. And so that's been, I think, a surprise for me.
Yeah, that whole
Perhaps
sense that Parisians hate Americans or hate English people.
It's not. I haven't had that experience at all.
No, not at all.
I've had plenty of, it's welcoming to, English speakers and all kinds of people. So, and I caught up with a couple mates that live in Paris, like they're Parisians, the other night, and they were saying it's quieter than it usually is at this time of year.
Okay.
Because summer tourism, it's usually packed.
And the
Paris,
Parisians
and they
have
were
all
like,
left.
The Parisians have mostly left, and they were like saying it's surprisingly, this is quiet for July. So,
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quieter than it would be ordinarily is like a weird thing.
During Olympics,
During Olympics.
Yeah.
Like you would think, but I feel like, the French pride is like palpable in the pool.
Sure.
Leon is getting chanted like every 5 seconds.
I was there for his 400 IM final the other night, and it was deafening in there.
Yeah.
Which is cool to see
Very
the patriotism for
so cool.
the French here.
Like I'm not even. I'm sitting there an American, and I'm like, I'm about to start chanting his name because it's just
America
infectious.
does that. Probably the other huge presence in the stands. I think I would say France and the US have the biggest presence in the stands. So you're either hearing like LA someone, LA Leon, they're going LA Leon, whatever, or it's USA.
Yes, I agree.
Fortunately, no cowbell though.
I was with a small contingent of no cowbell. Come on, the Australians get.
Well, I've heard a cowbell.
I understand.
Well, that's the thing. It's not actually. I'm actually really surprised that there's not because at trials they were handing them out left and right.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
Like shaking it. I'm like, oh.
I'm also surprised out of spite that someone didn't come with like 50 cowbells in a bag and was like handing them out to all the US spectators,
or like one
just to
massive
take the piss.
one.
Yeah.
Have you had any surreal moments? Any like shoulder to shoulder moments with celebrities? You bump into Snoop Dogg, anything like that?
Not yet. No, not yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Flavor
He was at
Flav.
the pool the other day, though, wasn't he?
He was sitting with Megan Dressel watching.
Oh, right.
Kaylee, they're just
Kaylee-
hanging
I saw
out.
that, yeah. There's been some cool, like people have come and really watched the swimming. I think maybe Tom Cruise went and watched the swimming.
Oh, he did?
Gaga went out. There's been a couple of people who've gone out and watched the swimming.
Bill Gates. I was so upset. So I had to do this video with someone and we were trying to keep it quiet of like the doors leading out to the stands. And apparently Bill Gates was trying to get through and they blocked him. And I'm like, next time, just a rule here.
They didn't recognize him, I
Let Bill
guess?
Gates through. I would love to meet.
Yeah.
This is a stupid video that I don't really need. And he's like in the corner. Like you can see him like kind of trying to get through when they blocked him
No one's
out.
helping him?
No, they were like, I'm sorry, sir, you can't go through because of my video.
Oh, my God.
Mortified. I'm like, next time he can come through.
Yeah,
It's fine.
be
we
in
can,
my
we can do it again. You can come in the video.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So, Katie, you're doing videos for Team USA where you're grabbing certain people and just doing like short, like sort of man on the street sort of thing. Is that?
Yeah, for Team USA and then Yahoo Sports as well. So just kind of similar, like the behind the scenes of what it's like to be here. It's hard to get actual athletes a lot, but I actually got Noah Lyles, which was cool.
Oh, wow. Cool.
So I'm holding that video for when he competes, but I feel like the thing here is just like, like people want to see like where you're going. And like, I have to kind of remind myself of, for us, it's kind of status quo, like going to the pool or going to Team USA house or all that. But
it is cool through the city. They got all the different like houses
So
in different
cool.
countries, and they're like little pop-ups all around central Paris, which is cool. Like,
how's Team I'm assuming Australia has a house
I haven't
here?
been there yet, but
Okay.
yeah.
I haven't been to any of this. Well, I'm like Team USA House. They're charging a little cash to get in.
Pass.
It's like this huge old building,
It's a giant building.
It's an epic building, and I was there on night one, and that again was just surreal. It was when the Americans won gold in the 4x100 freestyle relay, and the place erupted, and because it's kind of enclosed, it was, electric. And so it's kind of cool to see like the families congregate there and have everyone just scream their heads off, together. So
that's cool.
But those nation houses are different from the kind of Bonnaroo carnival environment that's way up the canals. Like, have you seen that? Like, each of the canals north, there's like fairgrounds where each country has its own kind of little area.
It's separate from that, but you can go up there and there's like activities and all kinds of stuff. I haven't been yet. There's like a huge Olympic fairgrounds.
Yeah, and they have like merry-go-rounds.
I was about to ask, do they have rides?
Yeah, there's like all kinds of stuff.
It's like Olympic Disneyland.
Like if you go run, like next time you go running, just take the canal as far as you can north. Like you take it north and you'll go through the kind of area where there's a bunch of cafes, and then there's a big intersection, and then you cross it and you keep going. And that's where they've built in this like pool into the canal that I think it's closed right now, but normally is open to people. And then it keeps going and it opens up into this huge park. And inside there are all these like activities and things happening in there.
I'll have to check that out.
It's pretty
next
cool.
outing. That seems like more of a marathon situation.
It's not that far. It's not that far away, but to the point of like helping the audience understand, like every time there's an Olympics in a city, all these brands have houses and like hospitality suites, and they're kind of open to the public or semi-open to the public. And then each country has its own house. So there's all these like there's a whole social world that's going on at the same time as the games. And it's stratified, right? Like there's the super fancy parties at the Louvre that, A-list celebrities go to. But then there's all these other kind of activations going around with all these brands that have athletes who are competing. And so even if you don't go to any of the events, there's still like all this stuff to do and
so much to do and
a lot of fun to be had.
Yeah. It's a good vibe here. At least from my experience so far.
Are you gonna play some music while you're here?
I got the guitar here, but
people must have asked you.
Yeah, I haven't really wanted to. I don't know.
You just keep that aside for now. You should just have no obligations. Like, I'm surprised you even said yes to this. Like, you should just be having a good time.
You know what I mean?
I'm doing both. Don't worry. Yeah.
Well, you did. I did text you, and you went dark on me for like 24 hours, and I was like, I should just leave this guy alone. He just wants to have fun, I
was definitely out. I don't remember what night it was, but
off the grid for
you've been out a couple nights. Yeah. Enjoying the relief of not having the early mornings anymore. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think we need to let you go because you got somewhere else you got to be. And
it's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it was really so much fun.
Nice to talk to you guys.
Nice to talk to you too.
Yeah.
And just, normally like I do intros like that I record later before these so I can kind of contextualize everything. And these are just kind of going up, rough as they are. For people that don't know and haven't listened to the podcast that Cody and I did a while back, what was that, like a year
I still got a lot
ago?
of great, it was probably about a year ago, 12 months ago. Still got a lot of great feedback from that.
Yeah, I mean, your story is incredible. I think the way that you navigated this chapter of your life, showed a lot of maturity and integrity. And I just have mad respect for how you've conducted yourself and the way that you showed up for something that you cared about and the way that you shared the story of the whole thing, like very transparently. And it's great to see you here and in like a really good headspace. Yeah. And like I said at the outset, I'm excited for this next chapter for people that are like, who is this Cody guy? And like, what are we talking about? Like, go back and listen or watch that podcast that we did. Because I think you're a really super interesting guy, and so it was a privilege to have you here today. Thanks,
privilege to be here. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm inspired. Like, I just think to be able to see someone make that transition in the way that you are, and genuinely, like, you can tell when an athlete is just like saying words to kind of get through it before they deal with their stuff. It's inspiring to me, having gone through transition, to see the way that you speak about it. So it's cool.
Thank you.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, I hope I can inspire like other athletes to not be sort of afraid to, come in and out of their sport and, be okay with sort of.
For you to take that long of a break and not even like you didn't even get going in your real swimming career right? Like it was cut short before it really even began.
I suppose so.
And then to step in like so many years later and do what you did opens up the possibility for other athletes thinking differently about their approach to sport.
Yeah. Particularly for, at least I can't speak for like longer distance events, but particularly for the 100 meters, like I think there's that sort of common conception that you need to have done 10K a day from the age of 14 to, have any chance to, compete at a high level. And I think it's being proven more and more that that's not necessarily the case, and that, may not necessarily be too late to come in, as long as you then commit to the work required. Obviously, it's like, I'm not saying anyone can just come and go in and just swim, but I think there's a sort of age-old conception around, the amount of years you have to have sort of been putting in Ks,
It's the culture of swimming, I think.
Yeah,
I think
it's the way it's always been done, right?
Yeah,
so, it's gate kept in that way, but it's not necessarily the truth. And so
you're like an explorer.
Yeah, I suppose
regard,
so. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It'll be interesting to see other athletes, do their version of what you experience and what that might look like.
I'm already seeing it, like at least in Australia, and people have come up to me saying, "You inspired me to do this and that," and like that's really cool. If I can inspire someone else to have an experience like I had, I gained so much from my experience in the sport again that I hope others can do the same thing,
I'm just imagining like some 30-year-old dude rolling up on you and being like, I went 55 in the 100 fly when I was 16.
What do you think?
Should I get back to it?
You're like,
oh, that's not what I meant.
I will say though,
Masters maybe. I don't know.
I am trying to make. I've only said this like in a small forum.
Katie's
So I'll say
making a comeback.
No, like not to make the Olympic team, but I just was so inspired at Lucas Oil by you saw Grievers did it. So I want to make my Olympic trials cut in the 100 breaststroke so I can
just to do it.
Swim again, and swim again and just see how it feels. But I'm full on committing to doing that a year out.
Oh,
so
that's cool. Yeah.
I think like just seeing
for
Grievers
LA.
For LA, yeah.
Cool.
And like
cool.
deck access,
Who was the breaststroker who
Gabrielle
made the final?
Rose did it too. Yeah, and
How old is
breaststroke.
she?
Like 46. I'm going to be 39, so
that's
I'm going to be
impressive.
spring chicken.
Yeah, that's cool.
So,
do you know that there is a athlete here in the Olympics competing in table tennis who is 61?
Stop.
Wow.
Yeah, there was a Wall Street Journal article about her the other day. Yeah.
I don't think that could happen in swimming.
So, Cody's mind's about to explode.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I thought I was done.
Table tennis?
Maybe.
She was like competing in world championships in like the 70s or something like that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I got like
I think it's like
35 years to get good.
Her 6th Olympics or something like that. I don't know.
Wow, that's impressive.
That's cool.
So, yeah, man. Cool. Rewriting the rules, buddy.
Yeah, thanks.
Meanwhile, go out there, make some music. You got your kid. You came out with this kids book too.
Yeah. Well, I just dropped a track like last week for the Strain team. Yeah.
I saw that. It's beautiful, by the way.
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
It's called Fly. Like I pretty much right after trials like jumped in, and I'd already written the song, but I jumped in and like produced it and finished it up and like dropped it as a little like theme song for the Australian Dolphins, and it was sort of just a timely. It's also a reflection on what I'd been through, so I put that out as just like a little sort of a diary entry on what I'd just been through and the mindset that it required and all that stuff, and hopefully to sort of give the Aussies a little boost. Yeah.
That's cool.
It's cool. They put it to like, all the swims and kind of that. So it's like overlaid
to a little
with
video
that.
of some of the swims.
I got chills. It's
Thank
great.
you.
It's really great.
Thanks.
And then Katie, you got the Unfiltered Waters podcast.
Yes.
Newly minted.
I was talking to
fast.
him. I'm like, if you could give one piece of advice, you're 12 years in your year one, what would you do? So I'm very newly minted, have the podcast with Missy Franklin, and
Awesome.
It's been so fun. Like so many of the athletes that are competing here have been on the podcast. So my goal is just to, that person beneath the athlete type of thing. So that's been really, really rewarding.
Let everyone tell their stories.
Yeah. And just more of a forum like this than how do you feel about that swim type vibe. So it's been very
because everyone is filtered usually in those post-race interviews.
Exactly.
So it's nice to.
Yeah. those are
get
tough.
the unfiltered, so to speak.
Unfiltered version.
It's just like the same thing.
It's the same. Yeah, like, oh, I feel good. Yeah, like that's, and I do
thank
think
my family.
you're like, yeah, I had a great time. It's an honor. I'm like, no, I want like the 5 layers below that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been really fun.
Yeah.
Hopefully keep things rolling.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, I think this postcard has been written and is ready for a stamp to be sent across the world.
Yes,
I'm going to let you guys go. Enjoy Paris. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Yes,
Have a great time.
thank you so much. Great to meet you too.
And maybe I'll see you at the pool tonight. We'll see.
Yeah. You going to be out there?
I am.
All right. Might see you.
Cool.